Greetings and
Greetings.
welcome to the Dr. Joe L. Dudley Senior Legacy Project, sponsored by Every Dot Black. Dot Black is the new .com. I'm your host, Michelle Nicole Taylor, and today we are honored to have Mr. Scott Hayes with us. Hello, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing exceptionally well. Honored to be here.
Great. Well, we are honored to have you. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak with us today.
My pleasure. I mean, I wouldn't miss it.
Well, great. So first, we'd like to start with where you were born, and please tell us a little bit about your childhood.
All right. I was born up in Elkin, North Carolina. I am the youngest of five,
Mhm,
and my mother and father. My father was a hardworking individual. My mother was she worked as well outside of the home, but still provided for the home. I've been raised to five kids. And we had a great childhood. I mean, we were blessed. My father had small business, so we were always around the business atmosphere and understanding how to treat and work with people. So
mhm.
it was a great childhood. I look back and really miss those days because you don't realize how special they are until they're gone.
Sure, absolutely. So, what did you study in school?
Business was, I went to school and went to high school and then to college, and I had studied some in business major basically.
Mhm,
So and that's somewhat how I met Mr. Dudley. My cousins on my father's brother introduced my cousin Sheila, who worked for the company for 30 or 40 years.
mhm,
He introduced Sheila to Mr. Dudley, and then Mr. Dudley recruited my sister Joni, who was working for Mr. Dudley for years.
mhm,
And I remember when she first started working for Dudley, she went to Chicago and she wasn't allowed to come home for a year. And so we were, very concerned about that because we didn't know where she was really at in regards to location or who she was with. But once we had opportunity to talk with Mr. Dudley, he
mhm,
had told us that he had done that because he wanted her to change her thinking, her mindset,
mhm.
to program her for success because we had not been programmed that way. So it was very interesting, understanding the philosophy of Mr. Dudley and the concepts of how he was building his company and building his people.
Mhm. Wow, great. So, tell us about the meeting. Tell us about your meeting with Mr. Dudley.
I was invited to a meeting down in Greensboro, and I had never been around so many people. I was in total shock. I never been around so many of us, Black folks. I mean, there was over 400 people there,
Mhm,
and Joni kept telling me, well, you'll get a chance to meet Mr. Dudley. You'll get a chance to meet him, and
mhm,
so. Finally, he got up to address the crowd or the sales associates,
mhm,
and I never forget, he was speaking on the fact that because you're Black, you don't have to get back. You can be somebody.
mhm,
And it was the first time that I've heard someone of my same nationality speak in those terms and, speak with so much passion.
mhm.
And he made such an impact that, that night after the meeting, I knew I wanted to be affiliated with Dudley Products at that point. So, my sister was working with them, my cousin.
Mhm.
My father was selling, different products at his barbershop during the time. So,
Mhm.
we really got a chance to really get really involved with Dudley Products, and it was probably the greatest thing that has happened for as intervention in life that I've ever experienced.
So, when you say that you got involved with Mr. Dudley, how do you mean?
When I met Mr. Dudley, after that, we talked. He invited me down to the factory.
Mhm,
And so I went down and met with him, and they were in Kernersville, in Greensboro at the time, I think.
mhm,
And so he brought me down, interviewed me, asked me what I wanted to do, what was I planning for life. I think I was 23, 24 at the time,
mhm,
and had a decent job for a 23-year-old guy. And he was telling me, you better than that. You need to set goals for your life.
mhm,
And after the meeting, he said, well, where is one place in the world that you would like to go? I said, I'd like to go to California. He said, well, in 6 months, you'll be in California. So from that point, he sent me to Philadelphia to work with Keith Kafillian, which I was out there for maybe 6 months. And then I had the opportunity to go work with the great Alfred Dudley. And that was such an eye opener because Mr. Alfred Dudley was, so well respected in Washington. Everybody knew him, everybody loved him, and he walked into a salon, and it's like it lit up. The people lit up.
Mhm.
And so I was out with Mr. Alfred Dudley for probably 6 months, I guess, somewhere back and forth between North Carolina and Washington. And it was just, really really a time of life that you can't forget because it was changing your whole paradigm of what you were growing up to think and the way you were growing up to act out in life, that you could really be somebody. And to see Mr. Alfred Dudley, just really a real mirror reflection of Mr. Dudley, and to hear about their story, Mr. Dudley's story about growing up and being labeled mentally retarded. I had issues in school, so it made me realize that if I really applied myself and I really believed in God, that I could do something. And so that really was the thing that really sort of propelled me and got me thinking that life was an oyster and I could make whatever I wanted to make out of it.
Yeah. So what did you do while you were in DC?
We went on the route, training, on the sales route.
Hmm.
And I had an experience because I had never really been out of Elkin at that point.
Okay.
So me and Mr. Alfred Dudley went out one day, and we came back and we didn't have a chance to have lunch. So Mr. Dudley said, well, I'm gonna take you back to the room, and there's a restaurant right down the street. You can walk down the street and get you something to eat. I said, okay, fine. So we went back. I went in the room, took my stuff in. So I decided I was going to walk down and get something to eat.
Hmm.
And I was walking down the street. And again, I'm from Elkin, North Carolina.
Hmm.
So you speak to everyone. I
Right.
mean, it's just, you just speak to everyone.
Sure.
So I was walking down the road, and a guy walked by, and I spoke to him. And he jumped all over me. Why are you speaking to me? What do you want?
Oh,
And I realized at that time that I was not prepared for the big city because it didn't go well. So I
right.
turned around, went back to the room, and I decided I would probably fast that night because I did not go get anything to eat.
You lost your
I
appetite.
lost my appetite very quickly. Well, that was the time that I spent with Mr. Alfred Dudley, and every time we had a monthly meeting, Mr. Alfred Dudley would always come over and talk, and really make sure that your head was on straight and that you were headed in the right direction, because you know him and Mr. Dudley are so much alike. I mean, they're such positive individuals, and you can't find them on a bad day. I mean, bad days doesn't circulate in the world. It's just a day where they're making different decisions, making different reflections.
Hmm. So how long were you with Mr. Alfred the Great
Uh,
Dudley?
I was with Mr. Alfred Dudley for probably 3 months, 3 to 6 months off and on, because I would come back to North Carolina, then I would fly back out and stay for a week, 2 weeks. So
Hmm.
probably I'd say about 6 months, somewhere around 6 months.
Hmm. And then what did you do next?
Then after that, I came back and I worked with my sister some because she was heading up the Dudley Beauty College down in Charlotte.
Hmm.
So I worked with her for a while, and then Mr. Dudley called me back to the corporate office and said, you ready to go to California? So my father and my brother and I drove out to California,
Oh, wow.
and I was really overwhelmed with California because again I had not been out of a small city. I mean, a small town, I should say. It wasn't really in the city,
Hmm.
and I would go. I was out trying to learn the route, and Mr. Dudley would call me every night and see everything was going, and really give me the talk to get me up to go the next day because I was really too scared to go out the next day.
Hmm.
And he never really focused on the sales aspect of it at that time. He was really focusing more on the individual, really to build the individual. And so he eventually sent my sister out to work with me. And she stayed out there for probably 6 months working with me and making sure I was getting adapted to the area. And we would just go out and really take the Dudley philosophy out to the cosmetologist, and then come home and do our reading program. So it was, it really was a building again of the individual. Not as much, he wasn't as much concerned about the cost of sending you out there and getting you set up as he was with the development of the individual.
Mhm. So you were actually doing direct sales to the cosmetologists and the beauty salon owners?
Right, right. Going to the formed a route, because again, it was, we sort of opened up Northern California. There was no one out there in that area at the time. So my sister and I really opened up the area in Northern California, and I stayed out there probably for about 6 to 8 years working with Dudley's, and learned a lot. I mean, it was a thing where you learn how to be responsible for your products, your inventory, doing your reports. And again, it wasn't a thing where Mr. Dudley would call you and really lash in on you.
Mhm.
But I remember one time he called me, and my sales wasn't where I wanted them to be, where he wanted them to be.
Okay.
And so he called me, and I remember going in the closet, and I was just crying like a baby because I felt like I had let him down so much, because he had done so much and extended so much for me to have this opportunity, and I wasn't living up to my end of the deal.
Mhm.
And so he talked to me, and he told me, just get yourself together and go out tomorrow and make it a better day. And from that point on, I started to get a better understanding of the development of the process and the development of the individual, to get to where he was telling us we could be where we should be at.
Mhm. So did he give you some books to read as well?
Think and Grow Rich. That was the book that we would do the 6 hour reading programs with.
Okay.
We would even fly in once a month. And when we got there Saturday night, Sunday, we would do the 6 hour reading for 6 hours straight.
Right.
You could go to the bathroom, but that's it. And we did not understand the philosophy or the concept behind the 6 hours reading at first. But then Mr. Dudley explained to me that he said for the first 3 hours, your conscious mind is calling, is reading, is taking it. But then within the third or fourth hour, your subconscious will kick in.
Mhm.
And once your subconscious kicks in, then you're getting to where now you're believing what you're reading, and you're applying it to your life, and how you can develop into the individual that you're desiring to do so. So
Mhm.
again, it was just a time in life that I don't think there will ever be another time or experience as such.
So it's safe to say that being with Mr. Dudley early on really impacted your life.
It changed my life totally. I mean, 100%. There's three people that I think that really had a major impact. My father, of course, was a great father.
Mhm.
My uncle, who introduced the family to Mr. Dudley,
Mhm.
and the wisdom that he shared. I remember my uncle told me one time I was over his house, and I was running through the house, and I stepped over a broom. And he told me, he said, only a lazy person steps over a broom. And that never left me.
Mhm.
So, the things that he taught me, and then Mr. Dudley, from a business and from a man standpoint, going into the world, in the world of business, we never were exposed to someone like Mr. Dudley, or a person of color like Mr. Dudley.
Mhm.
I remember one time we were over at DCU, and we had came in, and we are getting ready to start the monthly meeting. And I was talking to Mr. Dudley, and I said, Mr. Dudley, I want to be just like you one day. He said, don't set your goals so high. So that's that sort of made me realize that he was probably bigger than I had envisioned at that point. So it was pretty much.
That's a good one. So, okay, so tell me, after you left California, what did you do then? Where did your life take you?
I came back to North Carolina. I started working for DCU as a recruiter for the Dudley Cosmetology University,
Mhm.
and they would fly me to different cities to work with the sales rep for a week, and we would try to talk their customers, the cosmetologists, into to coming back to DCU to for some extensive training for a week. And
Mhm.
it was, a very successful program, and people loved DCU. I mean, it was really a hands-on experience for them,
Mhm.
and Mr. Dudley showed them love. I mean, nobody else had that compassion for the cosmetologists, where they were concerned about their education, weren't concerned about them developing their skill and their ability to grow and expand their business.
Mhm.
And Mr. Dudley always had that love for the cosmetologists, and so he showed it in everything. I mean, his life was based on him being able to share and expand that world of business.
Mhm. Okay, great. So tell me, what are you doing now in your life?
When I left Dudley's, I started a auto brokerage firm. We did subprime auto loans.
Mhm.
And Mr. Dudley still, when I was doing that, he would take time because my sister was still running the beauty college in Charlotte at the time.
Mhm.
So when Mr. Dudley came down to visit the beauty college, Dudley Beauty College, he would take time and come over by my office and meet with my staff and talk to them and ask them very poignant questions. I remember one time a young lady was there and she had an earring in her nose, and Mr. Dudley asked her, said, why you got the earring in your nose? She said, I don't know. He said, well, you don't have to answer me. I'm just, it's just a why question.
Yes.
So we would always, dig a little deeper than the surface in order to try to understand, why the individual was doing what they were doing. So I did the auto brokerage firm for about 5 years. Um, got into an accident, I guess you could say. Someone came in and a guy came in and stabbed me 12 times. And
Oh.
Mr. Dudley, again, took time, come to the hospital to visit a couple of times at the hospital. And it was just, really an eye opener that you're not just a individual in his life or you're someone special because he would take time and let you know that.
Mhm.
From there, I took some time and really try to get a better understanding of myself, what I really wanted to do in life.
Mhm.
From there, I started opened up a childcare center and did that for about 5 years.
Mhm.
And now I'm in the process of launching another product, which is a supplement product. And we're in the really in the infancy stage of getting that product rolled out at this time. So it's always always something that you can always reflect back, reach back into your your book of knowledge that Dudley's has exposed you to, and realize that whatever you set your head on, whatever you put your mind on, then you have the ability to do it if you're willing to do the work.
Mhm. So tell us the name of your company.
The company is called Powered Fresh.
Howard Fresh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And you said you're in its infancy. What did you learn with Mr. Dudley that's helped you along?
the don't quit attitude. I mean, it's anytime you come up with a new concept, uh, it's up to you to sort of plow it away. I mean, you don't have really anything that you can look at to really mirror and determine how you're gonna make the next step.
Mhm.
But Mr. Dudley used to tell us about when he would him and Mr. Dudley would you know come home, do the products on the stove, put them in a jar, and then they would go out the next day and sell them.
Mhm.
And just the determination that it took to have a starting point
Mhm.
in the kitchen
Mhm.
and to build it to a multi-million dollar company with over 400 employees
Mhm.
and still have a dream of the grow beyond that. That within itself just it makes you want to do. I mean, you have no excuse why you're not doing. I mean, he used to tell us that God could have made you a dog, a cat, a roach, but he made you in the highest image of all,
Right.
and you're not doing nothing with your life.
Mm.
That is impactful.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. So when can we expect your product to launch?
We're hoping, I shouldn't say hoping, but we're praying that we will be able to get out into the market within the first part of this year. We're starting to do some fundraising, trying to get funds in order to get to the next level of production.
Mhm.
And it's a big undertaking. And again, that's where you learn to have the respect for somebody who started from the kitchen stove. I mean, it's not easy. People will look at what you have done and they think, oh, everybody wants to be Michael Jordan, but nobody wants to go to the gym and practice and shoot your free throws or whatever.
Right.
Everybody wants to be a Joe Dudley, but nobody wants to get on the kitchen stove and make products and then go out, a day and sell them and then come back home. And, nobody wants to do that. They see the glory, but they don't see the walk that you had to go through.
Right.
So, it's very humbling to have met him and to still be able to, call him a friend.
Mhm, mhm. Wow. Well, yeah, it's safe to say that he has really impacted your life and probably made you go beyond where you thought you could go.
True. I mean, so much farther than I thought I could go. Again, I could relate to Mr. Dudley because again, I was labeled educated mentally retarded and didn't know I could do anything other than working on a factory job.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, that's what they taught me in school was to fill out a checkbook and fill out an application, and that's going to be your way of life.
Oh,
So when again in meeting Mr. Dudley, I mean, it just opened up a world that you can do anything that you set your mind to, and if you're willing to put the time and work behind it, you might have to work harder than the next guy, but
mhm,
it will all pay off in the end.
mhm. Wow. And so it has. So
Yes,
it
it
has.
has, and it's continuing to.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm looking forward to the great things that we're going to see from Powered Fresh.
I'm excited to be able to have that opportunity.
Yes. And is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
No, other than just again, uh, telling the world how fortunate we are. And those of us who have had the opportunity to meet and work with Mr. Dudley and Mrs. Dudley, because she's a tremendous force in the whole process of building this company.
Sure.
But just to have the opportunity to meet with them and to see that individuals that are not related to you are willing to take the time out of their schedule to help develop and build you. It's just amazing. They say that, when an elephant has a baby, it shakes the ground. I mean, because it's such a big birth.
Mhm,
And he's always had such a large vision for us as people
mhm.
that, picking up Mr. Fuller's dream and, and hearing Mr. Fuller, had the opportunity to meet Mr. Fuller once, never really engaged with him, but I was, there when they presented him a Cadillac for I think his 85th birthday or something.
Mhm,
Mr. Dudley did that,
mhm.
and again, just to be in that atmosphere and understand that I'm not an accident. God has an intention and purpose for my life.
Yes, a greater goal.
Yes.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Hayes. Thank you
Well,
so
thank
much.
you. I'm honored
Your
to have this opportunity.
your story is very inspiring.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you. So again, thank you for attending. This has been the Dr. Joe L. Dudley Senior Legacy Project, sponsored by Every Dot Black. Dot Black is the new.com. And thank you again, Mr. Scott Hayes, for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much.